Hello teachers, in this video I'm going to be walking you through a few tips in order to make your parent-teacher conferences more successful. My first tip is to use the sandwich method of delivering feedback. So the sandwich method is a way of delivering constructive criticism in a more positive manner. So usually you would say something positive. This could be an area of strength for the student or even a standard that they have mastered, followed by a criticism or an area of improvement, and then end it with another positive statement. So either, reinstating their strengths or mentioning another standard that they have mastered, or even suggesting an area or a way for them to improve on that constructive criticism that you have delivered. My second tip is to provide a solution. So if you are dealing with a student that is having difficulties either academically or behaviorally, and you are voicing concerns, make sure to also provide a solution to the parents or the students, and even involve the students and the parents with that solution. This way you have higher levels of engagement and cooperation from the parents. My third tip is to use visible timers. This way you ensure that both yourself and the parents are on track in terms of the appointment time, and you don't end up having your meeting kind of run over into the next appointment slot. And also, it's an easy way to kind of nudge the parent to say, hey, the time is up and I have another appointment, without it being overly awkward. My fourth tip is to have talking points already ready. Either you can write them down, or you can even have them visibly written on your slide if you're choosing to do that, especially that this time our parent-teacher conferences are virtual. So maybe even have some point forms for you, just to kind of, especially if you're new, or the students, it's your first year teaching the students themselves, you won't get confused. Like sometimes you'll have 3 Abdullahs in your classroom and you might forget which Abdullah you're referring to. So having those talking points ahead of time will keep you focused and make sure that you're addressing exactly what you need to address. My fifth tip is to include student artifacts and data. So instead of, in the past, when I would have parent-teacher conferences, I would kind of log into Schooly, and then I'd show them that, and then I'd log into Google Classroom and then show them that. And it was just a lot of clicking between tabs, which it made me nervous and also wasted time. So the best way I found is to screenshot or provide direct links to student artifacts and data already there for me to access. And this also kind of provides some evidence, especially that we are pushing to become a more data-centric school. You're providing data evidence for that grade that you have given to the student. So number 6 is to include a front screen. And I'll kind of show you what I mean by that next. So basically when parents enter your virtual classroom, since again, this is a virtual PTC, you have kind of a front page ready for them, and I'll show you how that looks like next. And finally, my last tip is to try to transform this parent-teacher conference into a student-led conference. So if the student is present, try to involve them as much as possible in the conversation. Increase their autonomy and have them reflect on their learning and their achievement. And I'm going to be talking more about how to transform parent-teacher conferences into student-led conferences in the next time we virtually meet. Okay, so this is an example of a front page, the one I just mentioned earlier. This is something I used last year, and you'll notice that there's so many things that you could have here. So I chose to do mine as a Bitmoji classroom. You don't have to. You could just have a literal slide ready. So for example, you could have a link to your introductory video, or a little explanation video of the course and expectations ready for parents to kind of refer back to. You could also have an area to include things like the timer. You could have resources, commonly used resources that you want to provide the parents with. Codes, for example, if the students you have something like Achieve 3000 or IXL or whatever, where they have to join a code, or even your Schoology class. So you could have that as well, or any other frequently asked questions. So here you'd have kind of like a summary of everything. That way when the parent comes in, it's as if they've entered into your virtual classroom, since you are meeting virtually. Okay, so next, Another kind of thing that you could have, so this is, I guess, like a template that I kind of came up with. And of course, you can add and edit this as you wish, depending on your class and your needs. So basically what you'll find here is, well, let me just move myself out of the way. You have an area to have the student name and their class section, just to not confuse students with one another. You could have an area to have your talking points, like I mentioned earlier. So you could even have the sandwich feedback method already there. So you could have the positive points, the area of improvement, and other positive points already kind of on the screen as a talking point or as a focal point for you. Or you could just say it orally. Again, it's really up to you. Of course, you could have a screenshot of the grade book. And again, this way you're not kind of logging into Schooly, having it load, et cetera, which can waste time. You have the grade book right there for you to refer to. And then you could also have links or screenshots to student artifacts, any rubrics that you might have used with them, any, their summatives, their formatives, a copy of some of their responses. So something that you're going to refer back to in your conversations when you're talking about their positives as well as their areas of improvement. So here's an example of something I used last year. So last year the parents would walk in and they kind of saw this as my friend screen with all the resources, and I made it a shareable link so that I could just put it in the chat box and they have a kind of like access to it whenever they want, and they kind of like leave my appointment with some resources that they can take home with them. And then I had the days broken down into day 1 and day 2. And what I did is I looked at my appointment schedule that was posted on Schooly, and I just pre-made a slide for every student that was supposed to come to an appointment. Now, I know that some parents and students don't stick to appointments. Sometimes they come without an appointment, but what I found is the majority of the parents that did attend were the ones that already had an appointment, so I knew exactly which students were attending. And I had a slide ready for every student. So for every student, I included their name, and then I included a screenshot of their grades, of their grade book. I also had a link, like I said, to their artifact. So here I included a link to the student summative. I had screenshots of certain questions that I kind of wanted to refer back to. And again, this is something that you could include where I literally had the standard-based comment there for the parents to see again. Okay, so I'm referring back to the standard that was mastered by the student, the standard that the student did not master yet and needs improvement on, and then finally I ended it with a suggestion. How can they improve moving forward? Now, instead of sitting there and trying to remember everything on the spot, by having it right there in front of me, it was just a lot easier to kind of go through everything for every student and make sure that I don't miss or forget anything. So this is a sample of what I had. Again, I made one for every single student that came. Here's another example. And again, same idea here, okay? And then day 2, etc. So I will actually share these slides with you, and you'll notice that I have included a few templates at the end. You're welcome to use these so you can, again, have your own kind of virtual classroom space, adding whatever links you want to them. So you can just add text boxes and either write or link things that you want. You can insert videos if you'd like to add a timer the way I did, so 5-minute timer or 10-minute timer, whatever you choose, and that way you have a timer directly on the slide, okay, and so on and so forth. Again, it's really up to you and how you want to do this, but I have a few options for you guys to use. I hope that this was helpful. Best of luck on your parent-teacher conferences, and I hope it goes great for everyone.